So that moves us to our action agenda. Number 12, action as necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. Do I have any motions? Mr. Hogan.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approves a selected employment item shown in Exhibit A for action.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. I don't believe there's any other items in executive session. Seeing none, that moves us to item 13, the approval for bidding by the pre-qualified contractors for the new Irmo High School East Wing Exhibit D.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, this is more of a ceremonial motion not required by the procurement policy, but we would like to bring this forth to the board just to show the process that we've gone through. So I'm going to ask Mr. Wiseman to come forward and introduce our special guest from LS3P.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Dr. Ross, members of the board, community. I'd like to introduce you to Mary Beth Branham and Tyler McKenzie from LS3P, who are the architects on Irmo High School wing. Remember the button.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Glad to be back here to update you on the process. And I think most of what you will see tonight has a lot to do with what you saw last time, but we've got updated information, so we wanted to share that with you. So just to go back to kind of our design process, you can see that we are now at the bidding phase, and we have completed construction documents. We're bringing those to a close right now. And so we are here for y'all to see where we are with our estimate now. We have a CD estimate that I'll show you towards the end. We anticipate, with your approval, to go forward with the bidding process. We hope to be back perhaps in early December for an approval to award the contract to the lowest bidder. But again, some of those things may change slightly, but that's our anticipated date of coming back. And then again, we're still on schedule for occupancy at the end of 2025. I'll show you an overall schedule towards the end as well. So you can see again just a repeat of the site plan and where the new east wing will fall there on the far right, where some of it was where the existing student parking is now that'll be reconfigured with a new entry. And then this is an overall first floor plan. As you know, you enter the main entry, and then you're able to go to the right is the new administrative area with student counseling, a dispersed dining and steratorium towards that pink area that you see with some access to outdoor dining in the courtyard, and then, of course, some classrooms on this level. There'll also be an entry for students off of the side as well where parking will take place. I showed you these images before. They really have not changed. They've just been more developed in the design documents. Again, this is that weird view, but it's looking as if you were up high inside that entry vestibule, looking down at the logo on the floor, where we're incorporating a lot of wonderful pride in all of the branding that will be throughout the school, as you see over in the counseling area as well. We're still finalizing all of these with the school. We're meeting with them about their history wall, and we'll be finalizing a lot of the artifacts and the sayings and the things like that we'll be highlighting. This, of course, is moving up to the second floor, where we have our focal kind of point is the media center with additional classrooms on this wing as well, with the upstairs area of the dispersed dining and steratorium. This is actually where the dispersed dining area will be, and I showed you a rendering that I'll show you again. This is actually that view of that area outside of the media center that you can see, and we love some of our pride words of beware of the sting that we have. So I think the kids are going to be very excited about how we've really taken that branding to the next level for them. We really heard them at the community meetings, and we're really incorporating a lot of what we heard from them. Of course, the media center will have a lot of natural daylighting throughout. There'll be a lot of different seating areas as well as some of the bookshelves that you see there. But again, a wonderful experience for great learning spaces. And then as we move up to the third floor, we actually have our science labs located there, of course, because on the upper level to be able to vent the science labs and whatnot. So those are mainly focused on the science labs and classrooms on the third floor. Again, the renderings haven't changed. Again, it's just exactly what you've been seeing through the progression of the imagery, but you can see the brand new entry that complements the auditorium side on the other side of the west wing. But you can see how it will be very branded, very identifiable. That will be a new visitor entry and drop-off in the front there, a secure entry vestibule, and kind of the bookend of the other auditorium where it steps back from the facade, and it'll just be a beautiful new image all along St. Andrews Road. Again, this is a little bit more zoomed in, close view of exactly what the new building looks like and the connector to the west wing. And then kind of coming around the side, we've got some, keeping with some metal panels that we have, we're doing a little bit of playfulness with some punched windows along the end panel that you see there, as well as coming around the other end. This is the admin area that you see to the left. And then, of course, the classroom wing as it comes around. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you where we are. If you recall, I came to you after we finished our design development drawings and we had an updated cost estimate. I'm happy to report today that we were able to look at some cost savings ideas, but we were able to get the project within the budget, and we're very excited about that. You can see that for the total construction costs, we're looking at somewhere, and this again is based on Aiken cost estimate, and they usually estimate to the midpoint of construction, which would be September 2024, as well as kind of the midpoint of where they think the bids will come in. So it could be better, it could come in better than what these numbers look like, it could come in a little bit higher, but it's usually around the midpoint. So it's based on looking at something that's around $419 a square foot, so that's that $51.6 million. We're also estimating your soft costs for you, which are all the other things that the district has to pay for that's included. So again, we're guesstimating, but we also have a set aside of a contingency for the district in that number as well, which brings us to a total of $61.6 million. And your district's overall budget was 63.5. So at this moment, we have a delta in your favor, a below budget. This again is based on an estimate, not on the bid, of less than, or $1.87 million less than what you have budgeted. Now, we did have a few alternates that we pulled out. Then alternates are set up to allow us to bid the project. They actually will list out the alternates separately, and if we can accept the alternates, then we can add those back into the budget. So the budget number you see at the top of the 51.6 does not include this $485,000 worth of additional things, which would be a gravel parking lot, the shade sail over that outdoor courtyard that I believe I showed y'all last time, and then a possibility of changing the floor finishes to polished concrete. So even if y'all accepted all of those, when we get the bids in and they come in about those numbers, we'll still be below your budget. So we are very pleased with the results of that, and if you have any well, let me go on to, well, I have one more slide, which is the schedule, but if anybody has any questions about the budget, maybe I'll go ahead and entertain those now.
Any questions? I don't see any.
Okay, so we're right on par with the schedule. As I mentioned, we came here in early August with the DD update, and here we are to show you where we are, feeling good about the estimate and the bidding climate and where we are with our bid package, so that you've got your pre-selected, pre-qualified contractors that we will be able to give them the packet that they will bid over the next month to 6 weeks, and then we'll be able to come back to the board, hopefully with a recommendation, or Dave would be coming back with a recommendation to award the contract to a contractor. So if anyone has any other questions, I'm happy to entertain
Ms.
them.
Huddle.
I have several, so I'll just do one at a time, give other people. But the first question I had, if you can go back to the schematic showing the floors, like on the first floor with the classrooms. And so this is kind of a question, I guess, for Dr. Ross too. Is there a vision as far as like grade alignment? Like, will this wing be all 4 grades, or will it be, predominantly juniors and seniors? What's the plan?
So great question. We programmed the entire academic program of Irmo High School. So if we go back one to the layout, what's currently in the existing East Wing is all being moved over to the new East Wing. That was the entire, all sciences, 9 through 12, all Englishes, 9 through 12, social studies. I think the things that are not programmed in there may be some CATE programs, some art programs, but that's the 9-12, and we were able to pick up some efficiencies with the square footage because there's a lot of kind of ins and outs that we could have eliminated in there. So, Mary, if you want to speak to if I missed something
Yes,
in that.
no, you're absolutely right. Basically, and we do have art. You see these blue spaces right here? Those are 2 art classrooms. So yes, ma'am, it's all grade levels because it's all of the core component, English, math, social studies, and science.
So things like foreign language, electives, those are currently in the West Wing and will stay in the West Wing.
Correct.
Okay.
Can I ask one more question related to the layout? I see main student entry, and I'm just wondering, from a security standpoint, is that this is the first time I've noticed that they had a different entry than the main entry. So I'm just curious, is that typical in all of our high schools, and are there any security concerns with having that separate entry for students?
So I don't know, I can't speak to the rest of the schools in the district, but it's really going to be an operational decision by the principal and your district staff. What it allows them to do is either they can open up the front door and ask all the students to come through that main entry and then lock down those secure doors, or it allows them to have this separate entrance if they choose to use it. They absolutely do not need to if operationally they feel that security-wise they need them to all come from the front door. So that's purely an operational decision.
If I go to this elevation and help me understand, that entry would be on the opposite side of this building on this
It's
side.
actually on this side, Dr. Ross, and it would be underneath that canopy, correct, Tyler? That centerpiece, yeah, I don't want to mess with this.
This
thing
one?
at a point. Yeah, yes, sir, right there.
And one of the things, and if I go back to this elevation, we would load the building through the hole on the inside. But one of the things that we have to have is that egress for emergency evacuation. So fire drills, for instance, making sure that we move out. So I think right now, like at Chapin, for instance, you use the back of the building to load just as you can use the center holes where you would have protection from the street. So, but ideally, operationally, you can load from that center hall and then up and down the stairs all internally without having to go outside.
Exactly.
I think our only issue, which we see at Irmo now, is every student has to go outside to go to the cafeteria. Every student has to go outside to go to the gymnasium. So we at Irmo High School currently do not have all enclosed, but you would feed from where it says northeast wing on the inside loop all the way down behind the school, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any more, Mr. Satterfield?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions, and I know Dr. Ross talked to you about my couple of questions. Mine are it's more about supervision than anything else, and I don't know at this stage that any changes could even be considered. But the first question I had, Dr. Ross, what about car riders? Where will car riders load from? Are they going to load from the same side as the middle school off of Westcott?
Let Mr. Wiseman handle that.
Yes, sir. Currently, the plan is to bring them on from that side that Mrs. Huddle kind of talked about, but we're also looking to make sure that we have the bus loop will still be over there by the stadium, and they'll be bringing in the students from that way. As always, we try to separate car rider lines and bus traffic just because of the volume of vehicles coming in and out.
So car riders will come down Westcott and hit that right by the new wing?
Yes,
That's
sir.
where they'll load and unload along
sir.
with Irma Middle School?
Right, and then they'll come straight out to St. Andrews. You'll still have that little offshoot where the visitors can come and park in front of the school.
Now, will that still be a student parking lot right there on the corner?
There'll still be some areas for student parking, yes, sir.
It's going to be a busy place.
Yes, sir.
My next question is, I notice on the second and third floor, your stairwells are at one end of the building or the other. And now, let's say between classes, change of classes, that's a lot of kids moving all the way from one end. If you have it any time during the lunchtime, all your lunch and your feeding is all at one end. So all those kids, you're going to have a huge migration of kids down there in that one little area, probably in that one stairwell for the most part. You're talking about 30 classrooms of kids.
Yes, sir. So by code, we're required to put the stairs on opposite ends of,
Right.
of the thing. So where they land and where it is in proximity to where the students will be coming from or going to, just like Dr. Ross said, they could come from the cafeteria through the back entry where that other stair is, potentially. Or they could be coming across the bridge connector and coming to that other stair. So
Right, I understand that, but I just know that when we did the addition at Dutch Fork High School, we didn't plan it very well, and they all spilled into one little crossroads, and it was like it came to a log jam, and everybody stopped until somebody was able to move. And I stood out there every day just anticipating, some kid losing his cool or so. But I noticed on the schematic that you showed, on the entranceway, there was a nice big open space right there, and that's great. That's a great place for the kids to arrive. But I will just tell you, I'm a little concerned that we're having those small stairwells at either end, and are they going to be sealed stairwell, or will they be walled in, or will they be glassed in?
those are fire stairs, so they are definitely solid stairs because they have to be, because it is it is a way for the students to get out safely from the building. But the doors will be on hold open, so it will feel as open as a fire stair can feel. But by code, we're required to have those two at opposite ends. Now, the one that's going to be open with a lot of glass is that dispersed dining one, the stairatorium that's right there by
Right.
the pink area.
But that's at the far end of the hallway.
Correct.
And the only assistant, again, I had to use my magnifying glass because the drawing was pretty small. But the only assistant principal's office I see is all the way down at the other end of the building on the third floor. Is that correct?
I'm pretty sure it's in the center, is it not, Tyler?
Are both of them located? I know one is at one end of down at the far end.
So on the third level, I think it did end up down at the far end because of all the science classrooms and that need to be on either side of the labs.
Okay, well, again, I'm just telling you from my experience, having your administration at the other end of the building and you got a sealed stairwell on the other end of the hall is a supervision issue. I can tell you, I've talked with Dr. Gary at Dutch Fork High School to ask because it was when I was there, it was an issue for us. And I don't know if it's too late to make any changes. They may just have to figure out a plan for dealing with it. But when you're designing for the supervision of kids, again, as a former principal, I just see it differently, I guess. It's easy if you can step out and you're in the middle of the hallway between classes at class change. And so you can see little short, on either side, so you can get to any issue that might crop up. If you're at the far end and you're dealing with something and something's at the very other end, you got to fight through all those students to get to where it is that you're getting. And again, I don't know if it's too late to even look at that or consider that. I know this was something that was planned earlier, and
Well, yes, sir. Actually, it's not about if it's too late to change it. We would not by code be allowed to change it. We cannot move that stair that's at the end into the middle of the classroom wing, if that makes sense.
No, I understand that. You have to have the exits at the end. That I
Correct.
understand. I wish that we could have, this is hindsight, if we could have had some sort of stairwell or accessory in the middle.
And that, yes, sir. And the way we were also fighting with a budget that we just talked about. We're fighting with square footage. In a perfect world, could we have lots of great big open stairwells? Well, that would be everyone's dream layout. Unfortunately, that was not going to be an option for us other than the one that's up at the front, that they wanted the most supervision, and that's why it is
Right.
located there.
How about at least, is it possible to have an office space or the flexible space in the middle? I know that Dutch Fork Elementary School, Dr. Ross, when I visited there, that he set up a desk. The assistant principal set up a desk in the hallway because he was too far away from the student body.
And I'm looking here, we do have some flex space. If you look at faculty support in the middle, we have that here.
Good.
And I think one of the things that we're going to be talking about in terms of the technology package is the camera systems. One of the skill sets that we have now is to have the eye in the sky covering a good bit of blind spots, particularly. We're doing that now with door alarms and camera systems. But we do have, to that point of supervision, the administrative offices and this resource classroom. So we do have some options in the middle
Yeah.
and in both ends that we could operationally flip to get that
Absolutely.
around those stairwells.
Well, I think that's great, I really do. And please understand where I'm coming from. I'm not being critical of the drawings or
no,
the
we
schematic or
appreciate
anything
it.
like that. I'm just thinking about the practical usage and when kids start arriving and all that. Now, I had one other question. I'm sorry, Ms. Hines. The width of the hallways, how wide are the halls? Any idea?
They're 11 feet wide.
They're 11 feet wide?
No lockers on either side, so.
I know, we've eliminated lockers.
And Dr. Ross, I totally understand your points, Mr. Satterfield. But Dr. Hampton has been very involved in this planning process, correct? I just want to make sure that, sometimes, plans come about and there's no input from the administration, but I think that
She's been integral into all the
Okay.
planning, all the programming, all the planning. She's seen all of this and is aware. And if she feels like we need to change something operational, she's been very involved in that. So she is very aware.
Well, I understand, and again, I'm just asking questions. And I had a conversation with Dr. Hampton, and then she was new to the position, and so I was just trying to maybe offer some input. And it's just that kids are getting bigger, and if you walk down, she took me down to one of the lower halls where Mr. Hogan was at Irma High School, which is a long time ago, and the halls you can reach out just about and touch either side because they're so narrow. So anyway,
it'll be
those are
wider
my
than
questions.
that, right? I'm asking, it'll be wider than that, right?
Oh, much, 11 feet.
Much wider.
Yes,
Thank you.
11 feet. And, no, we appreciate your perspective. We really do, Mr. Satterwhite.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ms. Huddle.
2 more questions and I'm done.
Okay.
One is, I think you said before, but I just wanted to verify that this plan was done in a way that we could add to it, correct, down the road? If we needed to add
Yes.
another wing or something?
Yes.
Great. And my other question is, when the construction process starts, so you guys are doing the design, and it says the materials and all of that. When construction starts, whose responsibility is it to make sure that the contractor uses the right materials and constructs the building correctly to your specifications?
So we do handle construction administration, and which is to be sure that when we inspect, we actually do observe the site. We come out every 2 weeks to be sure we have meetings with the facility staff and make sure with our engineers and the architects involved that as we walk through the building, as they're putting things in place, even from the foundations all the way up to the final ceilings and light fixtures that'll be put in place, that part of what we do is give a report to the district after we do a site visit, and we are able to document if we see anything that is not conforming with the documents that we produced.
Did you have a second question? Okay, yeah, you did, sorry. I have a question, and I was really thinking, I think that Ms. Huddle asked some good questions about the safety because the school's going to be very spread out, it seems. And I just noticed, I didn't just notice this, but I see the cafeterias on one side, and we have this dining space. Is there, there's two things that I noticed about the layout of this school. One, I see that there may be an issue if you're on the third floor in science class, and you have to go to Spanish class in the West Wing, like the time that it may take to get across. That is an operational issue. I noticed that. That's more of a comment than a question, I guess. But the dining space in the new wing, is there going to be a cafeteria there as well, or food, or is that like
It's-
you brought your lunch?
There's some sort of food service. I don't know, Tyler, do you know what they've finally ended on in terms of what will be there?
There will be some coffee makers, some vending machines, cold food mainly. There won't be any, if there's hot food served there, it will come from the cafeteria on warming trays, and that's kind of an operational thing for how the school wants to handle that. But we've set it up for some vending and cold food especially, and drinks.
I'd be interested to see how that's going to work in practice, because it seems like the cafeteria is pretty far away from where that dining space is, so.
Well, that's exactly the reason that we put the dispersed dining here and the ability for outdoor dining, is because we are actually doing it a lot in other schools, not just because of the distance, but because it disperses the students from all being in one spot, and it allows you not to build as large of a cafeteria dining area as we've seen in the past. So you have your huge cafeteria, and then half the time you're not using it for cafeteria, right? So we're seeing a lot of dispersed dining in new builds, new designs, where we're able to take other types of food and give students options. And, they love the outdoor dining thing, and it's going to be such a wonderful outdoor dining experience for them. So we feel like, and we got a lot of feedback from the students during our community meetings, that they are really going to utilize that space. So it is going to be a functional thing of the dining folks figuring out what exactly works over there and how the kids will be able to, purchase it from vending machines and things like that. But I think you're going to find that it'll be a very, very well-used space.
Absolutely.
To that point, Madam Chairman of the Board, I do want to, and I think Ms. Huddle, you brought it up about future, can you build onto it? So, as Mary Beth said, there's 5 steps to the process. We're at the visioning. We have talked about this area here, when budget allows, being the future cafeteria. And then we will bring to you a discussion on instructional programs about, we talked about the small business incubator and how that can be converted. So the goal is to move more of this being the campus. I'm sorry about the neck turning, but we have visioned that you would move straight from this building to the new cafeteria / student center that would be here. So we will, as you know, MPS is also working with LS3P on our 5-year master facilities plan. We'll look at conditions of facilities first, but then if we have those options, that will be that next phase, because you're right. Taking the walk from here to the cafeteria was the concern that we had, but we felt that we would provide those options once we could finish our facilities assessment. So I just wanted to make that known. They've designed it to be built on, but we're on phase 1 now. But great point.
All right, any other questions? Mr. Scully?
Hey, Mary Beth. Good to see you again. A couple of just questions kind of to change the pace regarding the bidding and the contracts. Can you refresh me, and I apologize if we've gone over this, but what's the contract? It's going to be a guaranteed max price. Is that what you're bidding out for? And then, no, it's not. What are you going to be? I guess that's the first question, is what?
So what the district has done this go-round is actually pre-qualify a select group of contractors. So they sent out an RFP, Dave, RFQ to selected contractors, and then they have selected 5 of them?
Four
of them.
4 contractors that met the qualifications for this particular build. Once approved, they'll get a copy of the CD, and then they'll bid all four of them will hopefully bid on the project.
Okay, and then you'll look at the
We'll
four
bring that
bids
back
and
to the
and
board
evaluate that?
with a recommendation.
Okay, and I'm just curious, I saw in your estimate here, you're including 2.5% for construction contingency. That seems low to me. How does that compare with typical projects?
Well, we'll see, probably the contractor will hold a contingency too, but what we like to do is have the owner hold a contingency, and that's usually about in the range. I mean, some districts hold more, some less. We're just recommending, that's really a district decision about how much contingency to hold.
Okay,
But we feel like it's sufficient for this size project.
thank you.
Okay, any more? So I believe that means that we need a motion. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair, we would entertain a motion. This would have us proceed with the bidding, and our goal is to advertise and bring back a responsible bidder on December the 11th. So we have a recommendation.
All right, do I have a motion, Mr. Hogan?
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve for bidding of the pre-qualified contractors for the New Armour High School East Wing in Exhibit D.
Do I have a second? Ms.
Second.
Huddle? Any discussion?
I do have a question, which this prior dialogue brought up. When we approve this, does that mean that the district will award the contract to the lowest bidder? Or will it be a different criteria? Is it a price competitive bid?
I got to think for a second so I can make sure I give you the right answer. Lowest responsive bidder. I think you might have stumped us on that one.
Okay,
I'm
but
sorry.
regardless, the final approval will come back to the
Yes.
board?
Correct.
Okay.
So we will not execute anything until
Okay.
it comes back. So you will see all the bids. We'll have a recommendation. This lets us go out to advertise. We will do the opening, I guess, and then that's usually public. Everybody gets to see what everyone's bidded on. You see the lowest. We will bring a recommendation to you on December the 11th and for that board meeting.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. Thank you very, very much. We're excited for a January groundbreaking.
We are very
Fingers
excited
crossed.
for a January groundbreaking ceremony. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. I just wanted to, if we can leave this right up for one more second, just kind of outline where we are in the process on the timeline. We have completed our community analysis and enrollment projections. Just know that this sits in the middle of a 5-year plan, so we're in progress. We will bring back to this body on October 23rd the results from the NPS study that shows all of our conditions of our facilities. And you will see the entire need to get a full understanding of where we sit in the midst of facility needs. So that facilities conditions assessment will come back on October 23rd. That will show us other needs that we have facilities-wise in our district. We will look at our instructional plan review on November 13th. This where we kind of line up. This is where student movement, instructional programs, magnet programs, how all that's aligned. And we'll look at potential financing options on December the 11th. That is the same meeting that we plan to bring back a vendor for the Irmo High School project. So just a lot going on. I just want to just outline the timeline of how these will impact us over the next 3 meetings. Any questions?
Any questions? All right. I see none. So that brings us to number 14 on our action agenda, which is the first reading approval of proposed revisions to Board Policy IKF, graduation requirements, and Exhibit E.
Our Chief of Academics, Tina McCaskill, will come forward with our first reading on IKF.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, Board and Dr. Ross. This is the same that we had before. Notice that I did include for you, for IKF, where we're adding that statement that is straight out of the law that you were asking about. And so I just included what that regulation was and printed that out for you and kind of made a star. And the recommendation is that we move forward and for second and final reading for next time.
Do I have any question? Well, actually, do I have a motion, and then I'll ask for questions?
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the first reading of proposed revisions to board policy IKF, graduation requirements,
Do I have a
shown in
sec-
Exhibit E.
Do I have a second? Ms. Snipes, any questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? That motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
McCaskill.
Thank you, Ms. McCaskill.